host, Mr. James Charles Everett, exclusively on 9.1 FM, WWR. This show is designated and you're invited to voice your opinions and concerns relative matters that affect you.
The show about to go live on 9950. We appreciate you for always tuning in. We got a great spirited show, great conversation. We're going to be with Mr. Sherry Jones today. And it's something we're going to ready to go live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Revive Mississippi. We appreciate you for always tuning in every week. Today we got a great show lined up for you today. We got a great conversation, but as always, we're going to start every show off by remembering those who are going through bereavement. You know, times like this are hard, especially when you can't bereave how you normally go through that process. And we just encourage folks to be a friend so that you can have a friend in your time of need. And, you know, during times like this, you can't, you know, mourn properly. Our normal traditional way we come together to handle our problems has changed. Just trying to be safe and be away from the virus. So just remember those folks who are going through bereavement. Give them a little extra attention, a little extra care, because the process is always hard. Bereavement is hard anyway. Death is hard, but together we can get through this. Our co-host for the night is taking care of some other things. We appreciate Miss Angelique Lee, and we appreciate Mr. Sherry Jones for stepping in the gap, being a ram in the bush.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you, Mr. Jones. And now we're going to start off with our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Micheal Jordan Transportation Service. Micheal Jordan Transportation Service has been around for some time now. Great leadership, and there's a unique opportunity for those who are looking for good quality transportation. You can go to mjstransportation1.com for those transportation services. And if you're looking for, I think they start off with 25, and then they're down to just a handful of positions left. If you're looking for full or part-time employment with Micheal Jordan Transportation Service, he's very selective of who gets to deal with his customers and carry his brand, but it's a space that you can sit down and really develop a good revenue stream for you and service to folks who are senior citizens and developmentally challenged folks. Definitely go to mjstransportation1.com and click on employment. And that employment tab is going to be critical so that you can take advantage of those employment opportunities. And we're going to start off today's show with a word from Bishop T.D. Jakes. Let me get it together here, Mr. Jones.
What are you saying?
An elevated conversation is an illustration that you have been in the presence of the Lord. You just talk differently about him. You don't go to the grocery store and talk about, child, if these prices get any higher. You're not at the gas station talking about, oh, Lord, I can't hardly make it. Because you say somehow or other the Lord will provide. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to keep on doing what I got to do. A breakthrough is coming in my life. My sister was wanting some new furniture for her house, and she called me on the phone. She said, I want you to believe God with me that they'll mark the furniture down. I said, if you got the faith to believe that God could touch them and mark the furniture down, why don't you just go ahead and get the faith to believe that God could give you the money and you can go in there and buy it? God's getting ready to transform your thinking. You're getting ready to go to another level. It's not about bringing stuff down. It's about bringing you up. Take me up into the next realm where God can move in my life.
And that's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. Taking ourselves up where God can move in our life. And that's what this show today is about. It's about elevating our thinking, elevating, where we, how we look at things and how we approach things. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to start off with a few words from our new fill-in co-host, Mr. Jones. How you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm just here till she gets back, because she look a whole lot better than I do. I guarantee you. And we wish her well. We're developing a platform. We did an event a few weeks ago, and the platform is from welfare to the boardroom.
That's right.
Okay, and that's what we got to do in our community. And it's a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we brought our elders, Dr. Clara Reed, down and put into a room to keep our elder ladies and women's and queens with a group of young women. And those young women's to keep I'm talking about, were like a sponge, absorbing that information. So that's what we got to do a better job. Bishop Jake said, don't be asking them to bring it down. You want to be elevated so you can get there. And certainly, that's the same concept we believe that we need to develop, moving our people from a welfare mindset over to a boardroom mindset. And it's happening.
It is. A lot of times we get to, talking down on ourselves and don't allow ourselves to look up over the horizon. And there's some things that are right over the horizon that we can, some low-hanging fruit, as old folks say. And this coronavirus time has exposed some of our unique possibilities. And one of those things is the lack of hospital beds in the state of Mississippi. Now, for some time, the people have been talking about building a new hospital over off of State Street, where the other hospitals are, where Memorial Stadium is. I believe we got a unique opportunity, Mr. Jones, to get a twofer. You know what a twofer is?
I'm listening.
A twofer is when you get two things for one strike.
Okay.
And
those will be what?
We could build Jackson State a new stadium.
Okay.
Or its own stadium. And then also build a new hospital. I think that's the key that we need to move towards as a city and a state, is increasing our hospital beds. And right now we got an opportunity with as much money as floating through to deal with healthcare, is to increase our capacity by building a new hospital right across the street from UMMC. Then also building Jackson State Stadium over here on the interstate, on I-20.
Well, I'm with you on building Jackson State Stadium. That's been something going on for years. But I don't know if we need to build a new hospital of the Keith, or we need to try to stop people from getting sick.
Well, I agree with that portion. I'm all about people being healthy, but we also need to turn your radio down, caller. Turn your radio down, caller. All right. Yeah. And so what we have to do is, when you look at the situation, as this coronavirus time has peaked, we are seeing a situation where we have, no hospital, no ICU beds in town. Hospitals laying off workers because if you did all those elective surgeries and those things, we don't have space for all that. We have to increase our capacity of our health infrastructure, and we can do that with some things that were already on the table, but now accelerate. It's not about coming up with new ideas. I think we got an opportunity to do some things that's going to be a game changer for Hinds County and the city of Jackson. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show. What's your question or comment?
I have two issues. First of all, I believe there's a lot of misnomers. There's always been a shortage in the medical arena for nurses, CNAs, and I believe that's the main problem. That is the main problem. Your former governor didn't get that $10 million. He didn't sign on to the extension of Medicaid and Medicaid, go along with Obamacare. Second of all, with the stadium, they was talking about the stadium 30, 40 years ago. First of all, you can't even afford a stadium. Then you got a similar college in California called USC, University of Southern California. They play in a stadium that Jesse Owens won his 4 gold medals in because they keep renovating it. Why you can't renovate the stadium up here? Now, if you don't know how to do it, here's how you do it. You take on both sides, you take the first 20 rows out and you put some press boxes in there on both sides. You close the stadium in and you'll still have a capacity of 69,000 people. I mean, you don't need a new stadium. You can't afford a new stadium. Do you know how much room that takes to build a new stadium? I'm totally against that. Was against it then, against it now. You can redo this stadium that you have. They gave you a stadium to redo. I don't think you have to do. You're gonna spend the same amount of money if you can redo this stadium, modernize it. Because now, as we speak, this stadium holds just as many. Is one of the highest capacity stadiums in America. It's still. I was there, Mississippi Valley State, Alcorn. I was there to see those 84,000 people in there. I was there to see that. So I'm against that stadium. You'd have a hospital up in North Jackson that they barely use. Up on Oak Canyon Road, I believe it is, that they barely use. I believe that the main thing with the hospital, they don't have enough staff. And if they had a sign, if they had a guy, you had enough money to train more staff. Because my daughter's working in the hospital, I don't know if no people being laid off. Those essential workers there, I didn't see none of them get laid off. So it's some type of misnomer going somewhere.
All right, appreciate it. I can tell you specifically, my wife worked at St. Dominic's and she was furloughed. That's money we lost out of our household.
So your check got cut short.
Right, I know intimately well.
And UMMC, right?
Right, those folks who do elective surgeries and all those things, they pushed all that to the side to open up whole new wings and turning them into just coronavirus, just ICU type situations. So a lot of it, but it didn't stop people having heart attacks. People still have medical issues that need to be taken care of. And for our state to have less than 200 ICU beds statewide, available, that's scary. And I just know that we're behind expanding Medicaid. I'm definitely for the expansion of Medicaid, but we do need to have the actual facilities in place. The need was there for more hospital capacity in our state prior to coronavirus. They were already closing down rural hospitals all over the state. So the only place to open up new hospitals is going to be in the urbanized area. And if Hinds County and specifically Jackson don't champion for those new facilities, what's going to happen is other places will get new facilities.
I agree.
And absorb that, because it's going to happen. This state will build new hospitals. But we have to champion for things early on before we wake up and see somebody with a bulldozer over in Rankin County building a hospital. Hello, caller, welcome to the show. Hello, you on there, caller. What's your question or comment? Hello, caller. Can you hear? Are you on mute? Okay, hello. All right, well, call back, caller. But that's one of the issues that we're pushing for now, is to increase our capacity for healthcare. And with the closing of rural hospitals around the state, which is sad, I feel for folks who live in those areas. But if we can't sustain a hospital in a rural area, we at least need to have it so folks can come to a hospital within driving. Hello, caller, welcome to the show.
Good evening, how y'all doing?
How you doing, sir?
Good. Appreciate what y'all doing. Keep up good work. Representative Staff. Hey, Staff, you running for office, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What do that district cover? What you running for office for?
We're running for House of Representatives, District 66, which covers South Jackson, part of Byram, part of Terry, part of Utica, the rural portion of Raymond, and back up to South Jackson.
So you do cover part of Southern District 2, correct?
Part of what district?
District 2.
Oh, yes, sir. Down in Learning, where Morningstar Church is, the church I go to in farms down there, that's in District 2.
No, sir. Where around Brownville, Bolton, meet up to Madison County?
Well, we don't go that far, but we always work with everybody. So if you got an issue, what's the issue you want to talk about?
Okay. The issue I would like to talk about, my question is to you, Representative, because I believe you're going to make your thing right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hang up once I ask the question.
Okay.
I would like to know what you going to do better than the rest of the people not doing, not just doing before election time throughout the year round,
mm-hmm.
rather than going to visit church. When once you get elected this 4 years and the third year trying to rerun again,
mm-hmm.
I would like to know, are you going to keep on being out there representing Mississippi like to be as high? But I'm just going to hang up, and that's why I like it.
Okay. I appreciate it. I've gotten that question so much on the campaign trail. We're not going anywhere. Y'all see us every Wednesday night right here, championing for different ideas. Some stuff we champion for is successful. Some stuff is not. But we're going to continue to champion for things that move our community forward, move our county forward, move our state forward.
And they don't see you when you're in the back of an 18-wheeler bagging sweet potatoes and with no air conditioning. All right. They don't see you when you're out in Pelahatchie on job sites looking at how a young brother is actually building houses and construction and developing relationships to bring equipment into Jackson to do the work. So the key, they see some of it and they hear you on Wednesday night. But I think a lot of it is the work that go on all the time when there's no camera there, no Facebook there. All right. And the decisions that you're making on the national level and on the international level. So talk a little bit about that, if you will, because you were promoted, Nikita, real quick into an organization, and you brought a group here to Jackson, which in my opinion was amazing. Because keep in mind now, when you made that decision and you talked to that organization, people rented hotels here.
Booked them up.
They booked them up.
Yeah.
They ate at restaurants here. So tell us a little bit about your international relationships that would be valuable to you on the state level.
Okay. Well, let's catch this caller and answer that question.
Don't lose it now.
Hello, caller. Welcome to the show. What's your question or comment?
My question is, hi, my name is Larry from Hazelhurst.
Okay.
I was asking, y'all said about different hospitals from Jackson all the way down to there. There's a lot of empty hospitals down here. And, you know, since we're talking about the coronavirus, right?
Okay.
Don't you think they should be able to, you know, resume or open them up some?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of closed hospitals across the state. Now, the one in Hazelhurst may be open, but there's several rural hospitals.
No. This one right about 2 miles from us is not.
Right.
They got that new hospital down there on 27 to 20. I forgot what it is. You know, I can't say because I'm totally blind. I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, hey, they're full. I just thought they could go ahead on and, you know, try to at least open up some and lessen the load. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree with that. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about increasing the capacity of our hospital beds in the state and centralizing that here in Hinds County. I appreciate it, brother.
Okay.
All right. Let me answer your question, Mr. Jones. Go a little history lesson. We got about 40 minutes left to go on the show. When I was in the 6th grade, I started participating in an organization called Youth Legislature. And that's where young folks go down to the legislature and reenact government at the state level. And I did that for 6 years straight. And that's where I really got a spark of interest in policy, in developing policy. I was a page going passing notes to different legislators in the session time. And then in the spring, we would come back after they got out of session. We would go in what we call in session. We elected our own governor, lieutenant governor, and other state leaders, and the youth would reenact it. So that's where I got my interest peaked at writing law and writing policy, because I realized that the pen is mightier than the sword. Even though once I graduated high school, I decided to go pick up a sword, because you learn that commitment to duty, commitment to country, commitment to our nation, that galvanizes you beyond political parties and other things. You are here to make sure that America continues to go on. Give us a second, caller. We're gonna finish what I'm saying.
Wrap this up
before we take another call. But so over the course of my life, when I retired and came back home, my first job out of the military, I got hired by the Chief Administrative Officer of the U.S. House. And they hired me to work in the Wounded Warrior Office to work on policy at the federal level and to help veterans with their VA claims by telling our story. Because we did our research. We were blessed to be able to go through the process of being medically retired and combat wounded and get our VA benefits taken care of. So they took our story and marketed it across the country. But also we started writing policy at the federal level. And we wrote a law for VA caregiving, and it allowed for folks to come home. Because what was happening is people were coming home from the war and their mamas and sisters were losing their jobs because they would have to take off of work to go take care of their family member. So now it makes the situation even worse, because you got an injured soldier or Marine coming home, and now his mother loses her job because she's taking off work 2 or 3 times a week, sitting at the VA with it. So we wrote a federal law got it passed, and it got it signed into law by President Obama that actually pays caregiving to family members. Mm-hmm. Instead of the government hiring somebody else to be a caregiver, we said common sense. Well, why don't you hire the person who's at home
doing the work already?
Why hire somebody else? Who's gonna take care of a veteran better than his mom or his sister or his grandmother in some cases? And so it was out of the box thinking. You know, people never thought to hire the family member. So now caregivers can get up to $2,200 a month if they turn their paperwork in and go through the process and take care of their veteran. And now you stabilize the home. Now you stabilize the caregiving and even stabilize the veteran. And so that was our first federal law we wrote. So we did that. We got assigned to Congressman Thompson's office because it's my home house district to help veterans here locally. And that's where I've traveled all across the state helping veterans with their VA claims, helping them go through the process, understand it, and getting their VA claims together. And then in 2013, I was disappointed to where the city was. And I decided, you know what, let's run for city council, which is a legislator at the city level. And we were honored and privileged to spend the last 7.5 years on the city council, working through issues, writing policy, passing budgets and laws. And so now, midway through that term, at the national level, they nominated myself to be the president of the National Black Caucus, which is a consortium of mayors and council people from around the country, really around the world. And so we were privileged enough to, work with mayors across the country. And, they decided, once I nominated Jackson, Mississippi to be the place where our conference would come, they in turn said, well, that's a good idea. And when they got here, I showed them something totally different
from what they believe.
And
was told.
And so much so that we had the preliminary meeting. They came, we had 435 members from around the country come. They brought their families. They turned into a family vacation. They spent longer than the 3 days of the conference. Most of them spent a week and a half all over Mississippi. And they really got an opportunity to work through some issues and learn some things about Mississippi that they didn't see. That the marketing of, you'd be amazed at how our state is marketed outside of Mississippi, not by our marketing piece, but by opposing type of conversations. And when they came, they went, entertainment. They were like, okay, y'all got great entertainment here, great food, great people. They saw the hospitality. And I just want to say thanks to all the folks who helped in that process from the city and Ms. Juanita Sims Doty and the ICANN organization, which is the International Community Ambassadors Network, which we have right here in Mississippi, who when people come to Mississippi, they provide all that support. We had Jackson State, we had the HBCU, Divine Nine group and the choir come. So it was just an overwhelming amount of support that came. And Mississippi had a great showing. And that changed the narrative about Mississippi in a lot of folks' hearts and minds. And when this opportunity came about, when this seat came open, at first I didn't want to run. I wanted to say, well, is there anybody else? Because I'm not busy. You know what I'm saying, Mr. Jones? We work every day. We're not a part-time, even though the position in the city council in Jackson is a very part-time 2 meeting a month requirement. We've turned it into an overtime commitment. And we realized that our real resources and solutions come from the state level. And in order to get some things done, we're going to have to develop a deeper relationship with the state of Mississippi, not just as an occupier of the city of Jackson and Hinds County, but as a cohesive unit to move the state forward. And we're pledging to work with everyone. Because our record shows, Mr. Jones, no matter what happens, we stand on our duty. When it's time to go meet with whoever, if it's about moving Mississippi forward, moving Jackson, moving Hinds County forward, moving America forward, we've answered the call. Just like we answered the call when we raised our hand in the mid-90s for military service. We answered the call to re-enlist. We got out the Marine Corps, and then they started off Iraq. And then we said, you know what, I want to go to war. And we answered the call again. We signed back up, got hurt, and came back. And we didn't just sit at home on Social Security disability. Right? I left my disability
to go back to work,
to come back to serve on the city council. I could have been at home on full Social Security disability. But I decided to raise my hand and serve again because the people of this city, the people of this state are more important than my personal comfort because my family is here.
Keith, talk to us about the oath that a person take when they go into office. Certainly when you go off to war and serve your country. And I think that's a hot conversation now going on with a quote about our president, you know, the service and sacrifice, which some of us don't know and understand. It's a difference when you show up for duty, but it's another difference when missiles is flying over you. You know, you leave with a group of people you train with, but they don't come back home. Talk to us about that oath, Nikita, and then the oath that public officials take, which we look at the behavior now of people that raise their hand and put it on the Bible. And I'm questioning if they really understand what they said when they signed up.
That's why I push for more veterans to get into public service.
Okay.
I really push for more veterans to get into public service because veterans have raised their hand and made a commitment to this nation and to these people that's beyond the politics, the political parties, the race issues, the class issues. That oath you take when you join the military. And I got a son and a daughter that's in the military, serving right now. You know, my son just left on his second deployment, and my daughter down in San Antonio. That oath you take when you join the military is, to me, the highest oath that you give in the public space, because you're pledging to defend this nation against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And for me, that's a lifelong oath. Just because we get out the military, I pledge.
You didn't take the oath back.
I didn't take the oath back. And there are some domestic threats to the success of our city, our county, our nation, our state and our nation that we need to root out. And that's one of the reasons why I signed up to run for House of Representatives District 66, because we're fragile as a body and as a legislative delegation of Hinds County. We want to offer ourselves up to strengthen that delegation, because the Hinds County delegation should be the strongest delegation in the state.
Why is that?
With the numbers. If we take, if you got this group, this number of folks in the Hinds County delegation, and the Hinds County delegation goes to the Capitol, and everybody makes two friends, we got a supermajority. If everybody goes and
makes
makes
about elected officials,
right? If we go down to the Capitol and focus on things that bring us together
versus
divide.
Okay.
Like, that's why people ask us, how is it that you can work with, we've been to the White House probably 6 times, since we've been in office. We've been
doing what? What was your purpose there?
Working on issues.
Okay.
We were in the crowd when Mayor Flaggs was being celebrated by the president for Opportunity Zones. We were in the mix then, and several other issues. We have to work with people on things we agree on. And so what we do is, instead of going to a conversation and saying what we disagree on, we start with what we agree on. Because government is so slow, by the time you work on what you agree on, you won't even have time to get to what you disagree on, just because government is so slow and cumbersome. So we say, always work on what you agree on so you get things done. And that's why we're running for House of Representatives, so that we can at least provide a degree of leadership. We're going to learn a lot because we've never been in a position before. I'm not saying I know everything, but what I am saying is that we pledge to work with folks to get things done, because this divisive place we're in, I'm more committed to the people than the politics of it. Okay. And so we want to take that angle, that breath of fresh air, and and try to get things done. Because if you look at our state, in most, the number one metric we have is our people. I think we're winning in good people. We got good people on both sides of the aisle. We got real good people. What we need is people to work together. So let's take a look at what we agree on. In providing quality health care, I believe, is at the top of the list. Poverty, good education. Let's work on these issues and take off some of the national stuff. Sometimes the national media pull you away from getting things done for the people we represent. And so what we focus on things that bring us together, things that create jobs, things that offer better quality of life for people.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got a call.
All right, okay. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show. What's your question or comment?
Good evening, guys.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
All right, Brother Sam.
Yes, sir.
If elected, what would be your primary job in that position?
Our primary job would be to pass laws and approve budgets. So in the legislative branch, let me back up. And I want to encourage everyone to tune in to Tuesday nights Civics 101, where we talk about this. But all government in our country are built on three branches of government: a executive, a legislative, and a judicial branch. Our state representatives are in the legislative branch of House and Senate, and we will be, if elected, one of the members of the Mississippi House of Representatives for District 66. And as that body, we pass laws through the legislative process and approve budgets for the state of Mississippi, similar to the same thing we do on the city level. We pass laws, pass budgets, and in the overall governing of our state. And that's what the legislature is responsible for doing. Mr. Jones, you had a comment? Okay, good. And so that's what we're vying for. We're vying to be the next House of Representatives, District 66. That area covers South Jackson, part of Byram, part of Terry, part of Utica, Learned, the rural portion of Raymond, back up to South Jackson. And we're going to focus on some very important issues. One of the issues I've identified, because this area is personal to me, because even though I was born in Jackson at the hospital here, and I live in Jackson now, I grew up on the farm and I learned it. And access to, fire stations and fire hydrants and broadband and all that, it's not existing to the degree it should be. This is 2020, and we got volunteer fire stations all over the county. We got folks with $1 million houses out through the county, and we have to provide better fire support in the rural area and better services, period, on the utility side. That's one of the issues that we ran for Public Service Commissioner last year, is to provide better utility access. And, right now, folks need better natural gas access. They need better fire support. They need higher quality internet services, and the lights go out all the time. And so we got to work on those issues. And those bread and butter type issues that we focus on is things that directly touch people and touch people's pocketbooks, so we can move forward. And so on the city side, there just needs to be a connection between the city and the state. Somebody that intimately knows the inner workings. Working through lobbyists, we've tried that, and it's worked to a degree in some spaces, but we believe that through the rubric of the Jackson City Council, I've learned a lot about myself, about government, about the true reality of our situation that we're in. And we want to take that experience and be able to be in those rooms and in those spaces to add more context to our conversations. Because in our delegation, we have the two most powerful people in the state of Mississippi. Hinds County delegation includes the Speaker of the House and Lieutenant Governor. So we got the two most powerful people in our delegation.
Appropriate the money.
Right.
Regardless of what you say.
Let's work together on bringing bread and butter issues home and getting things done. Like I said, a lot of times we get bogged down with some of this political stuff that we really don't deliver. And I'm not saying I'm the answer to it all. And I'm probably the only elected official that'll honestly say that every level of government in this nation is broken, from the city and I'm a part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
The body for which I serve is broken.
You one of the only,
and in the county, the state, and the federal government.
The only elected official that when this virus first hit the people, you came on the air and you gave people a word of caution. Watch your elected official in this crisis.
Oh yeah. Anytime so what I learned when I was in the military, one of my jobs, my first job in the military was presidential security for President Clinton and Bush. I was one of those Marines that were Marine One. Now, we don't involve ourselves in the process, but it's not like your ears and eyes don't work. You're in the room. And when you see government happening at the world level and you're in the room, I was just honored and privileged to be there. But when you see government work, George Bush said, never let a crisis go to waste.
Explain that.
And, during Katrina, there were so many moving parts and things happening that made me keenly aware to, in times of crisis, watch what's going on, watch the money, watch maneuverings, and make sure you position yourself to be successful. And right now, we got a crisis when it comes to healthcare. We got a crisis when it comes to access to quality healthcare in our state. And we got an opportunity to highlight, this crisis has highlighted an issue that will be beneficial economically to the city of Jackson and Hinds County. Expanding a hospital is going to put 3,000 to 4,000 jobs right in Jackson. And those 3,000 to 4,000 jobs, those people are going to need places to live, eat, and some folks might say, well, it's not in your district. Well, people in my district need jobs. They can travel right up Highway 18 and go to work. If we put a stadium for Jackson State, somewhere, I'm championing for it to be, somewhere in South Jackson on the interstate. I'm championing for that because that's going to reignite all those vacant and abandoned hotels on Highway 80 that we all see as an eyesore. We need a shot in the arm. We need an economic driver to drive economy on our side of town, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show. What's your question or comment?
Yes. What about housing in the Jackson area? Will we be able to do anything concerning that?
We're going to be a champion for all those things, and housing is critical. Ladies, I don't know if y'all heard him or not, but his question was about housing. One of the big issues we have in Hinds County is we need a better housing stock. And if we put in two large economic drivers, like a new hospital and a new stadium, that's going to really drive our markets up in Hinds County. And so it's a supply and demand business. When you drop in 3,000 to 4,000 healthcare workers that work in a hospital, now those workers want to live close by or in a general proximity. And that's going to drive the market for housing, which is already there. Folks who live in Jackson know our housing market, the demand is already high, but the economy isn't where it needs to be. So economic drivers, like the two we're talking about here tonight, increase our economy so that people will have money flowing. And the more money flowing we have in the city is important. Question: what's your stance on expanding Mississippi Medicaid? Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. I'm all for expanding Medicaid, but we have to do it smartly, and we have to do it. We're years past the time period that we should have done it, but we have to make good, sound decisions of how we do it. It's not just about pulling the lever, but it's about making sure that resources are appropriated in the right way. And really, you keep a keen eye on fraud, waste, and abuse. So there's a balance to it that must be played, but we do need to expand Medicaid and do it in a way that is smart and intelligent and accountable. As we know, with all influxes of money in Mississippi, you got to keep a keen eye on anytime you dump $1 billion a year into our economy for a specific thing. We have to make sure that we have the appropriate, accountability for those resources.
Lakeitha, one of the things, and also again, you call on our state officials to come back when the virus hit. Other people were trying to figure out how to navigate. you got what you call essential workers.
Mm-hmm.
All right, your wife, my wife, never did come off the job, still to this day.
Mm-hmm.
But our state officials, went into the safety mode, if you will. Then $1 billion was it that came down from the CARES Act. They put the mask on and they came out. Then right now, it's my understanding that probably $800-900 million to keep it is still in the possession of the state. Help me understand those funds, because if those funds doesn't get into our community, Mr. Stamps, can they really be considered stimulus money?
Well, many of those funds have to be spent by the 1 January. So at this point, we need what I call navigators, people to go out in the community, explain the different resources, and really push people through a process so they can get the money.
Okay.
Just like y'all had with the Black Farmers lawsuit, y'all had to go out and literally take the applications to people, walk them through the process, and then so that the money can roll out before it goes back. So that's what we are now.
You have to do that with home loans now.
Oh yeah,
we're doing the same thing with USDA. So that's part of the structure that need to be in place in our community on a regular basis. What are some of your visions to keep for our community? Because a man without a dream, time expires short. Certainly, with the energy that you put into running for office, you offer yourself to serve. You've been in a position where you could be getting a check and playing Nintendo. you understand?
Yeah.
So you have to have a vision, and you want your community to do better, look better. What are some of those things?
Well, first and foremost, we have to treat each other better. And I hope if there's anything people have seen me over the last several years, is people have had their varying opinions about me. But my mama and my grandmama always told me it's not what they call you, it's how you respond. And if you learn nothing else from me in this time that I've been sitting here on Wednesday night, people have said all kind of crazy stuff on the radio about me.
And I haven't gotten mad.
And you got mad more than me.
You handle it.
But if you got anything else from watching how we navigate, ladies and gentlemen that's in the radio land, we have to be able to absorb low-level conversations and not let people take you there.
Okay.
A lot of our murder and crime we have is people relationships, people talking about each other, people just this low-level stuff. We got to rise above low-level conversations and low-level mindsets as examples. If you a leader and you emotional, you a leader and we should not project that kind of hostility, that kind of, we have to, as leaders, we have to rise above low-level stuff so that we can lead. And now, as we work through those issues, my look over the horizon is building an economy, increasing our healthcare economy, because a mama and daddy with a job, that child has a better education experience. As we're going to work on education, we're going to work on all the critical issues of our state, but we have to get I believe that people respond how leadership responds. And we got to get our people to see leadership not being just emotional, erratic, and then they will in turn project the same thing.
Do politics in the Black community run off emotions?
Well, I think society in general today is more emotional as a whole society, not just Black community. And we have to really elevate ourselves because our children are watching. And even my daughter, she get amped up. When I come home from the radio show on Wednesday nights, she be fuming. But our children see us, and I hope that she saw me, baby, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Those folks, because
this is what life is like.
This is what being grown is all about.
When you leave the house.
Right, but we have to elevate our how we conduct ourselves and go deep into your question. My vision for Mississippi is pick the low-hanging fruit. Focus on what we agree on. And instead of just always trying to have a fight. Why are we arguing about guns. Black folks and white folks in Mississippi all got guns. Why are we talking about guns? Let's champion for better healthcare. Let's champion for the things we agree on and actually deliver things for Mississippi. And that's what we're focused on. We see over the horizon folks working together towards things of common interest so we can get things done. One of the issues that we feel with crime is the lack of economy. We got to get more money flowing. I was talking to a young man campaigning yesterday, and he said, man, I remember when I was in high school in the late 80s and 90s that all the young people had jobs. Everybody had jobs. I remember back when I was in high school, everybody was working somewhere. Everybody was Burger King, McDonald's, everybody was working. Now, the majority of the young people aren't working because the grown folks are in those jobs. So that's why we have to push for jobs, get our young people working. I learned a lot by working. I had money. I was able to, I had a car, I was able to pay for the responsibilities of the car. Now our young people don't have the jobs because the grown people are in those jobs. We have to take the foot off of, we have to really just elevate our economy and get more jobs so that we can get more people working and work on crime that way. Mr. Jones?
Nikita, the mayor just did something in Vicksburg, and they got a whole slew of jobs that they're getting ready to roll out over there. How is Mayor Flaggs continuing, especially in this crisis, to deal with the things that he's dealing with over there and make things happen, such as rolling out these great paying jobs?
Well, I learned that politics is about power, relationships, and resources. And a lot of times we get kind of turned sideways on some other issues. But the more you focus on building good relationships, you can navigate things better and to deliver for your constituents. And so that's what we focus on: building good relationships, making sure we navigate things so that we can increase our economy. One of the questions on Facebook, she says, crime rate also comes out of frustrations culminating from low income factors, lack of resources, poor education. You're right. And, Ms. Smith, we grew up down the street from each other. We still live down the street from each other. But we are the example that we have to set. When I went off and came back, I bought a house in the neighborhood we grew up in. You went off, and when you decided you wanted to, move back, you bought a house in the neighborhood that we grew up in. And so that kind of reinvestment, that kind of commitment is what it's going to take for our community to move forward, is us reinvesting in areas and then taking our resources and building up. So we definitely have to lead more people. My sister did the same thing. She lived around the corner, so between our two families and several other families in our neighborhood and across the city, that's the example of how to rebuild communities, stabilize communities. But then also, that's how you build an economy. We have to get more economy flowing inside of Hinds County and specifically in Jackson, because crime does arise from low-income situations, frustrations. But I do know a man or woman who can pick up a check will put down a gun. I haven't thought about picking up a gun other than if it's going down to the farm, throw my gun in just in case I run across something on the farm. But I haven't thought about picking up a gun for safety because I work every day. And the more people working that we have in our community, the less of those other kinds of situations that we have is for us. So that's what we're going to focus on, is getting more people working. Yes, education is important. I do believe that our future, we're on the cusp of losing a whole generation of young people just because the people aren't used to navigating our world as it lives today when it comes to virtual learning and all that. I know me, if I had to go to school, and Ms. Smith, you went to school with me. I was a knucklehead. I had to have a teacher put their hand on my shoulder, hey, to pay attention to what's going on. I don't know how these teachers are able to operate by having students at home, in their bed, go to sleep and you can't stop them. My hats go off to teachers who are really trying to do this and move our community forward. But we got to save them. But we got to get better quality internet across the district so that people can have access to the virtual learning. But we also have to tackle the healthcare piece. And I believe that this coronavirus is going to be like AIDS. You're just gonna have to figure out how not to get it. It's gonna be a while before we get around this issue. But I believe that we want to discipline our lives and focus on, just like we did with AIDS. You got to figure out how to live safely and not get it, and continue to move forward, continue to work, continue to provide economy for your family. We're gonna have to figure out how to navigate this thing, and we're gonna do it together. So every good idea that y'all have to bring forward, we're going to champion that as we're working on other ideas. So we're asking everyone to, if you qualify for voting early, if you need to vote absentee, you can do that and do that. We're asking you to do. If you don't want to come to the polls to vote on election day, vote early, and go down and handle that business, because we need to move our community forward. We're asking you to support to keep the stamps for House of Representatives District 66, either early or on September 22nd. Mr. Jones, I'll give you
phone number, information to keep that people. How can they get involved?
Oh, they can get involved always. You just give me a call.
And let me say this: I was telling somebody the other day, and now our log list is up to 2 candidates. And what we want to do is let people know, to keep that this station need to operate 24/7. If not, when election time comes, Mr. Stamps, guess what? It won't be here. And that's one of the things that is powerful about what you do. You here every Wednesday night, in and out of session, rainy nights, stormy nights, and whatever, and continue to be accessible to our people. So look, we appreciate what you do, brother. And we think things is going to be all right, because people are looking for leadership.
Right.
We're in a crisis now, to keep well, people got to have somebody that's going to help move them through these issues. Thank you so much.
And thanks for it, Mr. Jones. So everyone, as always, we appreciate you all for continuing to tune in, for continuing to be here. Our office number is 601-960-2052. That's 601-960-2052 as we work through these issues. Right now, we're finishing up our season. The City Council's session is in this time of year. Tomorrow, we're going to vote on the budget for our next year, and then we'll dive deep and hard and heavy into campaigning. We've been doing some things as time permits, but we're about to basically go out of session tomorrow, and we'll hit it hard and heavy after that. And just keep us in your prayers. There's some good people on the ballot. There's some good folks. Keep all of them in your prayers, because they're traveling around, learning this process, learning about politics. I encourage folks to run.
And run a clean race.
Run a clean race. For those, I do want to make Angelique probably going to address some issues next week. Okay. She was boiling hot about something, but I ain't going to talk about it. But, me personally, we rise up.
Mr. Burrell said, ask the person what you gonna do for me. Don't tell them what the other person not doing. Okay, and we're gonna leave it at that. We're
gonna work through this. Pray for everybody on the ballot, because this is a different process we're having to go through. Anybody who offers themselves up, hats off to them. But as we always say, ladies and gentlemen, never let anybody put you in a position where you don't love your own people. Because when you hate your own people, you're part of the very oppression we're trying to lift ourselves out of. I love you, Jackson. I love you, Hinds County. I love you, Mississippi. Continue to do the things necessary to move our community forward. And we ask you to vote for Keep the Stamps on September 22nd or earlier, if you are qualified to do that, for House District 66 in the state of Mississippi here. So thanks a lot. God bless. Godspeed. Handyman, get us out of here, man. Hey, I love y'all.